Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pre-match show. American Scouser. I'm your host, as always, Timuchin. Gordo is with us, Thursday as well. We might have a couple more hopping on as we get closer to kickoff, which we're only half an hour away, but we did talk it to death over the last few days, so I figured half an hour to see if we were right or wrong by looking at the lineup would be pretty a good way to go over here. The lineup is out. Not a lot of huge surprises, to be honest with you. We kind of assumed Jones would come back into the fold. I guess the main questions, because of all the injuries in defense, the main question was Jones and who's going to play on the left, Gakpo or Diaz. But let's start with the defense. We do have both Kwanzaa and Gomez. We were actually talking about it right before we went on air with Serzi. So Gordo, I'm going to start with you. My guess is Gomez plays right back and Kwanzaa plays his regular position as center back. But do you think the experiments over the weekend, as Serzi was referring to right before we went on air, was to see if that works, or it was just not to move multiple pieces at the same time?
In this morning's podcast, Gally had mentioned the fact that Trent did not play the full 90. He's still not 100% fit. There's a Hey, John, there he is.
Long time no see, yeah.
Could have been an email, by the way.
I think that's for 90% of meetings, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gordon.
No, it's just that Gally had pointed out that Trent is not probably 90-minute fit. And so this is not a situation, a cold midweek game away at Newcastle. It's probably not an ideal situation that you want to bring like a Kwanzaa in the middle of the game. So I think that's probably the thought process is like this is a situation where everybody in the back can play 90 minutes and you're not going to have to sub them out. And if you do, then you can just move Gomez to center back, take Kwanzaa off, which seems to favor taking Kwanzaa off at halftime, unfortunately. But
he's kind of stuck now, isn't he? There's really not a lot of options. I'm looking at the bench over here. I mean, Nalo is on there. You're not going to trot him out there, I don't think. So apart from Trent, there's really nobody that can come in on D. You would have to find a solution. I don't know if you can. I mean, I don't think you can make Endo or somebody like that right back. But Serzi, how do you like them apples in defense then? I mean, do you like that back four? And are you okay with not a lot of rotation? Ultimately, I mean, some of it is like Gordo was saying, probably by design because he just came back from the injury. But we don't have a lot of, you still have McAllister out there, Gravenberg out there and stuff.
No, I think in regards to the defense, it's our default defense right now. We don't have a choice. So, and that's still good enough to be where we are. It's not like we're thinking, oh, damn, like Kwanzaa's in or Gomez is in. Like, they're still, I think we'll get into any of the top four teams defensively anyway, I think. Midfield, I would have played Szoboszlai, I think, just because of Anthony Gordon and just to stop his runs and give that support to our right back. So I would have gone for Szoboszlai instead of Jones, but and up front, I think Diaz will probably be saved for Everton and go number 9 against Everton, or maybe left wing against Everton, so give him a rest. But this is our most important game. We had a great week last week, and it counts for nothing if we can't win today. So again, it's another statement game that we have to win.
Yeah, I mean, 2 back-to-back tough matchups. So by the way, it is Wednesday, so I am still number 1 dad. I don't know if Gordo thought he could sneak in, but hell no. But no, I mean, the thing is, John, in some ways, normally, maybe this time last year, we would be like, some rotation so that we save the legs and stuff like that. In some ways, you want to ride the wave and the momentum, right? This team is winning. It's in a good time, if you will. And also, winning every game in the Champions League enables us to rotate more as we go, whereas we were not in that situation at the end. Are you okay with the amount of minimal rotation, especially for your boy who's trotted out there?
Oh, well, I'm kind of worried about Gravenberg. Not really. Like, tell me this last year, I'll be like, you're insane. Gravenberg is literally the first name on the team sheet, but I get it because Gally mentioned it earlier this morning, where you don't want it to be in a situation where you're kind of running the legs off of this guy. So long term, it might not be good, but then at the same time, there's a league title to be won. So, and I do feel as well that Slot is still implementing his style. He still sees some kinks here and there that he wants his best team to kind of iron out, needs more reps and stuff, which is why he's practically going with the same 11 every time. And I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, Tim, where I feel like he's still that manager that's like adapting so far, but he could eventually be the Klopp kind of manager where he'll just play one style eventually once the entire team kind of gets going and figures out where to be at any given time. So I think this is like a part of that process, playing your best guys as much as you can until they it's going to be second nature for them. It's like breathing. Is it detrimental? It could be, but then so far it's been great. So it's hard to argue against it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I didn't think of it like that. And you might have a point. It might be one of those cases where, not everybody's on the same page, so he's not going with this regular setup kind of thing. I kind of see him more as we were talking about this in the panel show yesterday, like Spurs. They play one way every way. That's how we used to play with Klopp. We're like, if we do what we do 100%, we're going to win every game kind of thing. And even if it was a day where you're like, well, today's not going to be one of those 100% days, we didn't change it. We were like, if we do it 100%, it's going to work. Gordo, I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think it's, riding the hot hand right now? Like the guys who know what's going on out there winning in good form? Because really, it is a crucial game. Like this week is crucial. 2 big matchups. And I feel like you get 6 points from these two. Mm-hmm. And now you're kind of like almost, I mean, we're probably going to say the same thing like 7 days from now.
Yeah. The next two, we'll go the whole season.
Yeah. If we win this
33
next
wins, and Timuch is like, the next two are really
the next
two. But, assuming it's not me, for most people, I think if you take 6 points from this, I mean, you never know what's going to happen with the Arsenal game today. And then, Chelsea has Spurs over the weekend. They have tough matchups as well. I almost feel like if we get 6 from this, I might be wrong on this, but I feel like, Gordo, we would actually add to our lead.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, psychologically as well for the rest of the pack. It's like these guys cannot drop points. I mean, you look at who we have remaining, and I said it this morning on the Wednesday pod, is like really the next, I think, John, would you have 8 games on the
round? Yeah.
So out of those 8 games, I mean, we're facing ourselves. They're all winnable games. Mm-hmm. It's the congestion of the fixture list and injuries, and whether or not we let our heads drop for a game because we've gotten on the streak. There's always that little hint of like you get overconfident and you step out for a Southampton FA Cup game or EFL Cup game, and you get battered by them because this is their one chance to get silverware, and we see it as like, midweek against Southampton, don't really care. So I really think that you strap your boots down, you play the way we've been all year, and I mean, we could be looking at the end of December and going like, I don't think anyone's going to catch us. I don't think anyone's going to touch us.
Yeah, I hope that's the hope. I'll probably find a disaster scenario for you come then. But So Thursday, I mean, in some ways, I mean, these are tough matchups. You gotta, I mean, the schedule, and we normally worry about the schedule because of the Champions League games and stuff like that. You are going to be able to rotate a lot more. So do you think we're basically riding the hot hand until we cannot, and then extend the leads? And if then there's like an issue down the road, we already have like a 12, 13 point lead. Not a big issue. I know managers always say, the best team possible at that time, and they don't look at the next game. But you have to bear in mind, like I would think Slot will be like, hey, really go after these 2 games over here, and then I don't care about Girona. We can rotate, put Harvey out there, put somebody else out there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going back to John's point. I don't think Slot will get to that point where Klopp is like, where Klopp was this is one style, like Postecoglou does. That's why he's head coach, and everything that he's said, you can tell how much they watch, how much research they do into these teams, even going back to when some of the clubs were playing in the Championship. So I do think he rotates either the midfield or attackers depending on who we're playing. I don't think we'll ever see a Slot team where he takes over. Like Klopp was different to Slot. Klopp was just their manager. He was hardly there at the training. It was, Linders was doing all the training, whereas Slot is more hands-on. So with the research and the amount of people that have watching videos and stuff, I think we catered to our opponents, and we just happen to have probably the best squad probably in Europe. I think player for player, even if you look at, from backup keeper to everyone around the squad, any one of them players can get into any of the top teams in Europe, and that's just a luxury that we have. And that's why I said, when we started the Champions League, that we need to get as many points as we can, because we know December's going to be it's just tough run of games. Now we can go into Girona and play players like Naomi and Jaros and whoever, and probably still come out on top. And even Southampton, we can play our third string maybe and still come out on top, because Southampton, they want to survive in the Premier League. They don't care about a trophy. They want to stay in the PL. So the fact that we've come through this tough period, again, it's just testament to Slot, and we keep doing ourselves favors. And like Gordon was saying, it's up to us now. Our only opponents are ourselves now. And everyone else is going to get injuries and might get injuries. Arsenal got lucky last season. They didn't have any injuries. That's why they stayed with City as long as they did. But now they're seeing that without Gabriel and without Saliba, it's not good for them. And obviously Man City, everyone thought Man City, they've got the best squad and everything. They really haven't. They haven't invested. So it really is. I think so many people are surprised that we are where we are, but given the players that we had last season, we just fell away just because Solomon's AFCON, and the intensity that we had, Linders would put our players through, it just caught up with them. And we don't have that. I don't think we have that same intensity in our trainings anymore.
Yeah, I think there was this delusion that this was a subpar team, and the only reason they were doing well was Klopp. I mean, that's, I think, to kind of bash FSG, that was the thing. Is Klopp is saving FSG. That was the thing. I mean, this is basically the same squad. So the squad was always good, and yes, when you have injuries and you go back to your second, third options, and the chemistry gets less, those things are natural, and we kind of falter. And obviously the legs got tired. What I want to go back to what Gordo was saying, John, in terms of getting a little comfortable. I worry is a lifestyle, and the biggest worry in a game like this is, first of all, going away to Newcastle is always tough. Yeah. So St. James Park, it's always a tough away game. But we've seen this in the past where you win a big game, and then the next one is kind of a dud because you just won a 6-pointer. Mind you, we could have said that for the City game. I might have said that for the City game because it came after the Madrid game. And now, do you have any concern? I mean, it's good to have people like Van Dijk and all these guys over there who've been there, done that, to calm everybody down. But do you think that's a concern? These guys getting a bit more 9 points, baby, and then kind of slow down a little.
Yeah, especially since most of our squad, our leaders, our spine, have been there, done that. But everyone else hasn't been. Gravenberch, McAllister's won a World Cup, but then all due respect, the Premier League is different, especially a Premier League against Man City, against Arsenal. It's different from the World Cup. You can get lucky for a bunch of games, you can't for this league. Same with our front players, Diaz, Gakpo, Nunez. They got to be locked in. They got to convert all them chances that they get. So, yeah, I worry about that. And it might be my time in this podcast. I don't know. Right, but I
Stop blaming us, man.
Listen, man, I was way more positive. I'm just saying. But it's a reasonable concern, though. I mean, I'm saying that I worry, but then it's a very reasonable concern. It's what I mentioned. Why I mentioned that. You brought up a few weeks ago that Kazi's on the bus and everything when Rodri was. And I said I would be on the stop. Right, waiting for the bus. If by the end of January we still have a healthy lead and we're relatively healthy, I said this, I would be at the stop. Right,
January? Yeah, you better be at the stop in January. You're not getting on otherwise.
I will say, what was it? We won that EFL Cup was mid-February, was it?
Yeah.
And we still had a good run after that, and then it all fell apart. So I think we weren't even really talking about a quad until end of February, and it was just the legs went off. And that's the only thing that really worries me is like when you look at the benches of the last 3 games, and 2 of them were massive games, and you look at who we had on the benches. I mean, literally City at home in a game, like a statement game, and there was two goalkeepers, and one of them has only made 1 start and the other one hasn't. Man, it's still too light for me. That's you're in a nice house, but you got your windows might be old and it's drafting a little. Right. You can sleep comfortably, but you're 1 snowstorm away from that living room going through the roof for your electricity bill. So
things creaking here and there, something leaking there. Like it's not much now, but then
that would be that's my only worry is when I look at the bench.
I mean, right now, aside from defensively, I think we have a lot of options like going forward. Jota is coming back. Chiesa is playing with the kids today, I believe, right, Sergi? You were like attaching the image. Looks like he's playing with the kids, so he's going to slowly start coming back. But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the legs, but I almost still think the style we have, Gordo, will save some legs because it's almost like we take breaks mid-game, and it's almost like we're making the other team do a lot more work than the work that we used to do. I know Klopp always used to say, if you press hard and win the ball, you're running less because you're chasing less, giving less possession. But I think with the ball, we were impatient, whereas now, I mean, some might argue too patient or might find it boring or whatever, but we're a lot more patient with the ball, making the other team work. The hope is probably that preserves some legs.
Look, anyone that says that we are playing boring did not live through the Premier League during the Jose Mourinho height. There was never more of a team that was like, God, this is a damn good team, but I can't fucking watch them at all because it's literally 1-0, shut up shop, pass it around. I mean, they had some great players too. That's boring. This is not boring. This is managed. This is like, maybe it's coming off of the Klopp addiction. That's what we're in. Yeah. We're in some sort of like redux or detox, and we've just got to acclimatize ourselves with the new regime. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest it's boring, but we have controlled games a lot more. It's not as frantic. We're not like I really do feel like that the Southampton game. He's done it a few times this year, but that Southampton game really showed me that the foot is always on the gas pedal when we need to. I never felt like we were in a situation where it was like super. I mean, of course, you're 2-0 or 2-1 down to Southampton. It's scary, but it wasn't the same scary. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because hindsight's 2020 and we won that game. But I feel like it would have been a lot more frantic and under Klopp or a few years ago even.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't heard Sir Z said I'm reaching for my heart medication anytime soon this year.
I have that one again.
Oh,
there's like an IV going at this point.
I'm always looking at the chat. I'm like, Sir Z hasn't been reaching for his heart medication a long time now, which is great, by the way. Like maybe Southampton, but other than that,
and I think that's when you talk about winning breeds winning. That could be part of it, where you're watching a game, you're down, but you're constantly used to winning. You're like, oh, they're gonna find a way. I mean, we were like that with Klopp for a while, right? They're like, it will be the 80th minute. You're like, it's gonna come, like it's gonna happen. It happens all the time, so it's gonna happen again. You have that expectation. I think that's where this team is at overall. And I've been actually very impressed. That was one of my biggest concerns going into the season is how Anfield would react to the new pace and like the system. Yeah. And I think everybody gets it. Maybe the results forces everybody to get it and follow along and not be impatient when we're not constantly pushing the ball right away and stuff. Or maybe because, to be honest, we have not been in a lot of losing positions where they would get impatient too, especially at home. Looking at the opposition, everybody is freaking playing. Looks like Isak is out there. Joelinton is out there. Those two, when we were watching their match this weekend, I was like, that'd be nice if they didn't face us. But they're both out there. Biggest concern, Sergi, Isak, Gordon, where does it lie for you?
Yeah, Isak and Gordon, absolutely, 100%. Isak, he just loves scoring against us. So, I would have loved to not have him playing against us today. I would have for sure relaxed a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's similar to like what Alan was saying last night in the show last night. We we have experienced winners in that team, and that's the difference between us and Arsenal. And Arsenal, it's you got Van Dijk, you got Salah, you got Robertson. We have a team full of leaders, and and I think as to Gordon's point, we were kind of weaning ourselves off from Klopp and even the crowd at Anfield now. Like we're buying into Slot's personality. He's not. It's not as boisterous as Klopp was or whatever. He's just like calm, and he'll have little digs here and there. It's just what Liverpudlians do. That's what Scousers do. We have that sense of humor, but it's kind of like sometimes on a down low. And they've bought into the manager, and they've bought into the way we're doing things now. We're more patient. And if you see like Man City, we were patient at times, and then when we didn't have the ball, it was like back to the Klopp-esque era where we were just all over them when we didn't have the ball, and we crowded them out, and like City didn't, they couldn't handle us, and we should have won that maybe 5-6-0. But it just feels like, and I really, obviously, I think we were all said the same. We didn't think we'd ever say this, post Klopp, but it just feels like this is like the perfect balance. Like we've got the perfect time of when to play like Klopp, and then when we need to be a bit more conservative and mature in our play. And that's why teams are finding it hard to beat us.
Yeah, I mean, there has been some moments where I was like, holy press, Batman. Like, it was crazy. Like, both in the Madrid game and City game, it was like crazy press, but it feels a lot more like triggered like now for 5 minutes and then not as much and stuff, which is actually, I think, a better strategy in some ways, because you have the other team never knowing when that over-the-top press is going to come or not. But real quick, John, Gordon going against Gomez, are you more confident with that than Gordon going against Trent? Because they've had a history in the past where Gordon has that as number, really.
Is that for me or
yes.
Gordon?
Yeah,
because you're tossing around
the host now. We got all.
Yes, I'm concerned, and you kind of put in like the graphic there with like the players, and you asked Cersei who's he most concerned about. That would be my area too. Seeing where Gravenberch is going to be to help Gomez out. Like as good as he is, kind of defending one-on-one, he's solid. He's big. He's strong for a fullback, and he's also fast for a fullback, even at this age. But Gordon's a tricky player, and I really love how Gravenberch has been coming back defensively. For all the people who are saying that we need a destroyer as a 6, look at Gravenberch's defensive game over the last few months. It's been excellent, right? And I keep saying this. I told my buddy yesterday, not to hype up my boy again, but he's got the physique of Fabinho, right? He has the technique of Wijnaldum, and he can win balls like Jordan Henderson in his prime. So he can be that complete 6 that we need. Keyword can be. He's on the way there. And before I get on a tangent, he's my player to kind of watch here on our end, to kind of how he's going to help Gomez deal with that threat on the where is Gordon playing? Left side? Yeah, left side. Yeah. So yeah.
John Gravenberch, everyone.
I'm his
your concern, I mean, are you worried about that right side of the defense? Having Kwanzaa and Gomez there kind of feels a lot weaker side, or a lot more shakier side that it would be, even though, especially both of them really. I know Kwanzaa has an occasional error in him, but there have been so many times where we've said he had a great game or he was really great defensively. We just worry about, is it going to be that time for that mistake kind of a deal?
Yeah, I mean, he came in and did a job over the weekend. So, I mean, it was impressive. He hasn't gotten many minutes this season and came in and acted like the old Joe Gomez, like somebody that's been playing for 90 minutes. So I don't think we're going to have a problem there. The other thing is a lot of focus is going to be on Salah just with his form. It would have been what, Newcastle probably have been working on in training. There's probably been a lot of, meetings with the board and a giant circle drawn around Salah. So I'm hoping that pins Hall back, and Gordon's not going to get as much freedom because he's not going to get the supply that he needs. Because I'm assuming too that, with Jones, he's going to be pushing up as well. So you're looking at Joe Ellington possibly being pinned back with defensive responsibilities for Jones, because Jones likes to drift to the right too. And so maybe all that's just to isolate Gordon, which would work in our favor, because then we wouldn't even really need Gomez to have a great game. But that's hopeful thinking.
I know. Yeah. I mean, man, huge game. Hopefully 3 points, and then we can kind of like sit back and hopefully enjoy.
Yeah, and we can worry about the next two again.
Yes,
right?
you know, 2 at a time now. 2 at a
Until
time.
the next two. We need T-shirts. That's our next T-shirts. A run of games is one.
Real quick, before we go, final predictions as we go get settled down in front of TVs, monitors, wherever we're going to be watching. Sergi, let's start with you.
I think 2-1 Liverpool.
John.
Slot special. Still going with the slot special.
2-0. Gordo.
I was going to say 3-0, but he's explained, so I'll say 3-1.
Ooh, okay. I'll go with the slot special as well. I'll go with the 2-0. Whichever score, hopefully it will be the 3 points. And then we'll be back for the post-match. John, the new host, John Gravenberg, will be here hosting the post-match. We'll talk about, break down the game. Hopefully we'll be talking about the 3 points we won as we take a peek to see if United is getting something out of Arsenal and have that icky feeling of rooting for United. But we'll see you guys then. Enjoy the game. Up the Reds. Take care.